and a very warm welcome to Bharata First. You're watching Big Picture with Frank Rausen Pereira. And since you're here, I would like to thank you for your continued support. For those of you who haven't already subscribed, please subscribe, hit the bell icon, and then all notifications. Do follow our social media handles for all the latest updates, and you can also subscribe to our weekly newsletter to get some incisive content. The Bharata First team is running a daily quiz. The winner will get to interview me in a program called Hot Seat that airs around 6 p.m. on Saturdays. Details are in the description of this video. There is also a contribution link for those who would like to come forward and contribute and ensure you keep this content alive. One small step that you take will go a long way for Bharata First. To continue to show your love and support. And now on to the discussion. Chief Justice of India S.A. Bobde recently acknowledged that it was high time to have a woman occupy the post of CJI. The Supreme Court bench headed by CJI Bobde comprised Justices Sanjay Kishan Kaul and Surya Kant and was hearing a plea filed by Supreme Court Women Lawyers Association to consider experienced women Supreme Court lawyers for the appointment of judges to the High Court. The plea noted that there is no woman judge in the 5 high courts of Patna, Manipur, Meghalaya, Tripura and Uttarakhand. There is only one woman Chief Justice in the High Court, Hema Kohli, the Chief Justice of Telangana High Court. The plea also noted, as per the report, that women representation in the Supreme Court is low since only 8 women judges have been appointed to the Supreme Court and there has been no woman CJI in the history of the country. It added that only 11% of judges are women. In this edition of Big Picture, we will analyze the issue of representation of women in judiciary. Joining me on the program today are Aishwarya Bhati, Additional Solicitor General of India, and P.K. Malhotra, former Law Secretary to the Government of India. Thank you to my guests for joining me on this edition of Big Picture. Aishwarya, let me start the program with you first. Let's first try and understand and analyze this issue of a woman being the CJI. And this has been in the news for some time now, especially over the last 1 week, ever since the current CJI, Justice Bobde, spoke about it. I want to hear your thoughts because India has had a female or a woman president and a prime minister, but unfortunately not a CJI.
Well, that is absolutely right, Frank. But I think we have to understand the perspective a little bit. The problem is certainly there, but to understand the problem a little better, we have to appreciate that litigation has been a male bastion. 95% of the judges who become judges in the higher judiciary and constitutional courts, especially in Supreme Court, I mean, up to High Court, it's 50-50, 50% from the bar, 50% from the lower judiciary. But Supreme Court, a large number of those judges come directly from the bar who have practiced in the high courts. Now, litigation has been a male bastion. Because litigation was a male bastion for women to, you have to go through the whole journey. You can't have women paratrooping on top of the institution or, right at the helm of affairs on the very top without going through the journey. That would be counterproductive to the journey itself. That is why if you saw Justice Indhu Malhotra on her recent retirement, she was the one woman judge directly to be elevated from the bar to the bench in Supreme Court, and an incredible, I mean, I wouldn't even call her woman judge, an incredible judge of the Supreme Court who made all of us proud. She said it's, of course, representation is a problem. We need more women there, but we need meritorious women there. And merit will come when women go through the journey. So I think it's important, and things are changing now. Things are changing. We have all these, it is part of the conversation that India is ready for the first woman CJI. India is ready to have more women having their representation in the constitutional courts. It is everybody's common ground that, right meritorious women in higher echelons of judiciary promote better dispensation of justice. It is, after all, about one half of the population. It has been a journey which has been very slow. It has taken far longer than we would have liked it to. But it is certainly at the cusp now. And I think we will not be needing to have these conversations for too much longer now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But even that, Mr. Malhotra, is still going to take a while because we still have to have a senior judge, seniority also at the end of the day matters. Of course, it's not defined, but that's how protocol is, and that's what we follow. So it's not going to happen anytime soon. The earliest it may happen probably is in 2024. That is still a good 3 years from now. So these are some things that we need to consider. And also, let's look at the larger picture of representation of women in the judiciary as a whole. Even at the advocate level, they are underrepresented. Even at the judges level, they are underrepresented. And in the higher judiciary, it's a different ballgame altogether.
Frank, why women are not coming to the legal profession, why many women are not coming to the legal profession, and I entirely agree with the Miss Aishwarya, because it has been a male passion right from the very beginning. But yes, slowly women are coming to the legal profession and they are excelling in the legal profession. And why only in the legal profession? Women are excelling in all fields wherever they have joined. We have the head of the state, a woman. We had the prime minister, head of the executive, as women. We had speaker as a woman. We had secretary general. We have secretaries to the government of India. We have CEOs working of the multinational companies as well as in the country, working women also working as CEO as well as head of the companies. So they are excelling in all fields. There is no question mark on that. But so far as no women has been appointed as a judge, as a Chief Justice of India, I think if it is not there, who is to be blamed for it? Have we prepared ourselves for that? It's not that the good women judges are not, good advocates are not there. Miss Aishwarya is an example. There are many other additional Solicitor General. If they can work as additional Solicitor General to the Government of India and represent Government of India in the Supreme Court and all other high courts, why can't they come to the bench? And Ms. Aishwarya rightly gave example of Indu Malhotra, who was taken directly from the bar. The question of seniority come only when you are taking judges from the bench, that is from the high court. In there also, yes, seniority is not that sacrosanct. If they fulfill the qualification as laid down in the constitution, that is the number of years of practice they have put in, they have been designated as a senior advocate. Why don't the collegium pick up such women and appoint them as judges in the Supreme Court? And if they are appointed at a younger age, obviously they will become Chief Justice also, because from judge to a Chief Justice, normally the seniority principle is followed, barring the aberrations which happened during Mrs. Gandhi's time, when 3 judges and 1 judge of the Supreme Court were superseded and juniors were promoted. Barring that example, I mean, but when they're coming from High Court to Supreme Court, I think seniority is not sacrosanct. And the collegium takes a call on that. And this collegium system, although not prescribed under the constitution, has been working in our country now almost for 3 decades. If it is working for 3 decades, why the collegium itself has not taken a call? So you can't blame the government that a Chief Justice of India has not been a woman. I think the collegium should have taken steps in that direction to ensure that those women in the legal profession who are doing well and are willing to adore the bench, they should be given an opportunity at a much younger age. And I know there are many, because I can say on the basis of my own experience, having interacted with the judiciary and having worked in the government for almost 4 decades, that there is no dearth of talent so far as the judiciary is concerned or so far as the legal profession is concerned. So it's only a question of time, as you have rightly said. Maybe very soon we may say it may take little time, but if you are appointing some young women lawyers who are practicing in Supreme Court and High Court and elevate directly them to the Supreme Court, there is a possibility that in very near future, we may see a Chief Justice of India also, as we have seen the President, we have seen the Prime Minister, we have seen the Speaker, we have seen CEOs and other institutions being headed by the women.
Absolutely. Let's take the point that Mr. Malhotra was making forward. I'd like to stress on that particular aspect, Aishwarya Bhati, with you. This issue of the collegium system. And, why hasn't the collegium system really done something about it? And why is it that they're woken up now in 2021 about, a woman being at the highest echelons as far as the judiciary is concerned? Do you believe at some point that the collegium system is to blame, and at some point the collegium system has outlived its utility, and this could possibly be one of those reasons as well?
Well, I, for one, am a votary of a collaborative exercise for appointment of judges. Either the NJC, of course, it was struck down by the Constitution Bench of the court. But I don't think the two are interconnected. You know, the collegium system versus a collaborative NJC kind of a system or representation of women. I think the problem is more systemic because we had less women. See, as a lawyer, you can't have representation for women. This is not a job. People take up, a litigation lawyer is a vocation. It's a way of life that people choose, and this trickles back to the patriarchal and the stereotypical mindset at our homes, in our families, in the society. You know, women lawyers did not feel confident to be taking this as a vocation, as a livelihood, for several years. I mean, at the times that we were doing law, the law classes used to look like 60 boys and 2 or 3 girls, 4 or 5 girls. Today, if you know, but the things have changed. So, Frank, what the change we are going to see that India has gone through in the last decade or so, in terms of presence of women in litigation, is something that we are going to see in near future, because this has to go through the circle, like I mentioned. Today's law classes are more than 50% girls, and across all law schools. I'm not talking about just NLUs, your regular law schools, your old fashioned law faculties. Then let me give you one more example. You know, lowest the tier of judiciary where direct recruitments happen. At least I can tell you, and I come from a state like Rajasthan that has done abysmally for representation of women, in almost all walks of the society. For the last decade, in lower judiciary, the direct recruitments, women are 60 to 70%. That is the space and the share that they are occupying. And the reservation is what? Reservation is just, less than 30% for women across all. So SCs, STs, OBCs, etc. It is a horizontal reservation. But women are, out of their own merit, they are coming in large numbers. The conversation about women CJI is happening today because we have prolific and we have, strong women as high court judges across the country. So that is really making the change. And I think we really need more and more women, because if women are victims of victims of law and order, victims of crime, victims needing assistance, if they are consumers of justice, and you see more and more women are, whether it is it is succession issues, matrimonial issues, crimes, all kinds. So if women are consumers of justice, we need more and more women there to be dispensing the justice in equal hand, in equal measure, and that brings out a balance to the institution. I also, want to draw your attention, Frank, to other parts of the world. Of course, some countries do very well in terms of representation of women, but this has been a piquant situation in across all progressive democracies which are governed by constitutions. So this is a problem which is inflicting many countries. United States, I mean, we recently lost RBG, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was the only second woman judge on the Supreme Court bench. And she was asked, did she aspire to be on the bench in Supreme Court? And very interestingly, she said, how could somebody aspire to become something that only one woman before you has become in the last 250 years of your country's constitutional existence? And then one more interesting question. She was asked, how many women would be enough on Supreme Court, on the bench? How many women do you think would be enough? She said, when it is 9, and 9 is the total number of judges on Supreme Court bench. And the reporter was, he was perplexed. 9, you want all seats to be filled up by women? She said, well, it was all right. Nobody raised an eyebrow when it was all 9 men till 1980s. So why should it raise eyebrows? So I think the progress we will see that things are changing. We just need to be ready to embrace the change.
Absolutely. So let's broaden the scope of the discussion a little bit, Mr. Malhotra, and talk about a particular aspect that Aishwarya ji was talking about. Let's look at this issue from a reservation point of view as well. We have 33% reservation at the panchayat level and in the political system. But there too, we see that the husbands come forward and take over the role of the of the person who's won, and then this whole issue has been going on and the sword has been swinging, or the pendulum has been going back and forth in Parliament as well. So there too, we have not seen any kind of a consensus. So at crux of it, do you believe that we really want it as a society, or does a certain section of society does it want it to happen?
Well, on the lighter side of it, I mean, it can happen in a panchayat that husband takes the role of the woman who is working as the sarpanch, but this cannot happen in the judiciary at all, because you are on a different platform. You are on a different platform. I mean, two cannot be compared. And the kind of reservation which was put in the constitution by the 73rd and the 74th amendment for panchayat and for municipality was for a different reason, because you wanted to give opportunity to the women to come up. But in the legal profession, when they are joining on their own, and that Aishwarya very rightly pointed out that there was a time when it was all a male-dominated profession and there were no women at all. Now the women are coming forward. They are joining the legal profession. In the lower judiciary, their representation is very good. It's more than the normal representation which you have under the constitution for SC, STs and OBCs. That kind of reservation we are not talking of. We are simply talking of head of a judiciary, women being head of the judiciary, so that the kind of dispensation of justice which is women oriented, which is required from the point of view to deal with the problems which women can understand in a better way as compared to the men. I think that the balancing need to be done there. And for that, as I said, from 1993 onward, the collegium system itself has been making appointment, because the role of the executive is almost negligible. They only scrutinize the proposals which are coming from the collegium, and after scrutinizing the proposal, if there is nothing wrong in that, IB clearance is there. The president and the executive is supposed to give its clearance for the appointment. If they have a reservation, they send the proposal back only once, and if the collegium rejects that, then there is no way available to the government than to accept the recommendation made by the collegium. If the collegium is recommending women judges for the High Court as well as for the Supreme Court, and from there by seniority they become the Chief Justice of the High Court as well as of the Supreme Court, I don't see any reason why it can't happen. But of course, it will take little time. As Aishwarya also said, it will take little time, because the women advocates in the profession in proportion to the men advocates are too small in number. And now, of course, a class has come, or a number has reached a place where probably they can be considered for elevation. And one of the reason from where you can have elevation is from the bar itself, instead of depending on the judges from the High Court, so that they come at a younger age. If they are coming at a younger age, they are becoming Chief Justice of the country. I think will not be a dream to be seen, but it will happen in reality very soon.
Absolutely. A sensitive question, Aishwarya Bhati, but I have to ask you this. If you're comfortable, please answer. As a woman, did you face discrimination in your field? Many other women in their fields have come forward and said that there has been discrimination. And do you believe that if you were a man, things would have been easier in your profession?
No doubt about that, Frank. I think if you speak to any woman who has been able to make some presence for herself in her in her choosing, in her calling, of course. But let me tell you where the discrimination really starts. The discrimination really starts in the society. The problem really happens at home the most, because you're told you can't do this, your brother can do this, you cannot do this, you need not study, you need not go to a professional college. But what are you going to do with it? Nobody's going to marry you. You become a lawyer, nobody's going to marry you. And when you choose a profession, you have to, and you get married, then somehow you have to realize that, well, whether you choose to become a mother or you choose to have a profession, your clients have a problem trusting you if you're a woman, because they have not seen women lawyers. They are not sure if they are going to be that they're going to have that sharp edge that is required as a litigating woman. They are not sure if you would be as focused on your briefs. They've not seen enough women. So these are the problems that all of us have gone through. Frankly, Frank, I mean, all of us who have been able to make a little place for ourselves have got unparalleled support from home. And that is the only reason why we were able to do it. Otherwise, the society has built its structures in a manner that a man is expected to be a breadwinner. So for him to have a professional standing, etc., is all fine. While women are supposed to be the principal caregivers in the family, and that is how the society wants to. So it's not about what she wants or what is her aptitude. It is about fitting her into the. And it's not. I mean, I would be. I would be amiss if I don't point it out that the problem is not really a man versus woman. The problem is really with the patriarchal and stereotypical mindset. There are enough and more number of men who are part of that. There are enough and more number of women who become part of that as they go, rise in the hierarchy of families and institutions. But this battle has to be fought. So initial threshold is very, very difficult, especially if you have chosen a male bastion. But after you have broken the initial threshold, I think your presence is and visibility is much higher because you are in a place where there are less women. So, I mean, we are talking about women judges today. When I got designated 2 years back as a senior advocate by Supreme Court, I realized that I was only, I mean, one of 12 women to ever have been designated in the last 70 plus years. As a law officer, I'm only the fourth ever to be a union law officer ever in the last 70 plus years. So Supreme Court Bar Association has never seen a woman president. So these are abysmal figures everywhere. But these bastions are being broken. And I'll tell you why I find hope. I see young lawyers, women lawyers doing well, very, fighting their battles with fortitude, and not battles on the, in other ways, but everyday battles with fortitude. And secondly, when I got designated as a senior, many of my clients, I had to tell them, see, I can't take your matter anymore, and now you'll have to find another advocate on record. That's the system being followed in Supreme Court. So you'll have to engage somebody else. And most of my clients asked me if I could recommend a woman lawyer to them. And I was surprised. I asked them, and they said, we have seen that women lawyers are more focused and dedicated and sincere to their work. So we would really like it if you could recommend another woman colleague or woman lawyer. And that is really when your clients are feeling that way. There are obstacles, but there are people who are with helping hands everywhere. There are judges, your colleagues who help you out, with interesting points of law that you're grappling with your personal issues, professional issues. So there are problems. It's like life. Like there are problems, and there are enough and more helping hands. It is really up to us as to what hand we choose to lay out and which hand we choose to hold.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Frank,
Yes,
while I
yes, Mr.
entirely
Malhotra. Yeah,
agree
please.
while I entirely agree with what Ms. Aishwarya is saying, I think there is another handicap in our society. I mean, if you have to, the propositions which we are talking of today, in the kind of society which have created, I think socializing and lobbying has also become equally important in this system, which may not be very good for the system, but unfortunately that is happening. And probably so when it comes to socialization and lobbying, probably women's are not on the same platform as the men folk are. I think that is a drawback which women folk face today, in spite of their capacity, their capability, their experience, and the kind of delivery which they can give. And as Aishwarya rightly pointed out, that when some of her clients were wanting to have another advocate, they were looking for only a lady advocate because of the kind of dedication with which the lady advocates work. It's not that the a men advocate doesn't work with same kind of dedication, but at the same time, most of them, if they want to achieve something in the society like elevation or maybe some other important position in the society or in the system, it happens in politics, it happens in service also, it happens in the legal profession also. This lobbying and socialization creates a lot of problem, and probably most of the women cannot compete with the men folk in that particular area. I think that's one point. Of course, some people may criticize me on this particular aspect, but I thought I must highlight this point in this discussion.
Absolutely. And thank you for highlighting it as well, because it is, of course, a very valid point, and it is an issue that exists, it persists in our society, and that too needs to be looked at. Time to get closing comments now from both my panelists with the best way forward, starting first with you, Aishwarya Bhati.
Well, best way forward is to have more and more women, to have these, I think the thing, the real change will start at home. I am of the firm believer we have to give wings to our daughters, to our sisters, to our mothers if they want to choose. I mean, why? I mean, all of us, all women in our families, they must be empowered by all of us. And then slowly and slowly, the society is going to. And why just judiciary? We need more and more women. It's one half of the population we are speaking about. We need more and more women to be there. It's not, and I agree with Malhotra sir entirely that, it's not like women will make better judges or better lawyers, but one half of the population, when it has representation in systems, then systemic change and the systemic difference that it brings out is something that, the whole the whole country, the whole humanity can benefit from. So that is the focus with which we need to go forward. And I think another small thing that I must mention is, some things you can't lower the standard for women judges and women lawyers. That is not going to happen. Merit cannot be sacrificed. Sorry, that just cannot happen. But you can make it easier by having, small things like creches for women lawyers, their children, so that they don't have to make these choices through their professional journey, whether to keep their child in a parking, in the car running, or with a maid that they don't want to, or bring the child into the system. So we need to have stronger systems in place, allowing women the same liberty, latitude, and safety. Public safety is also very important. These three things, and women don't need lowering of standards. Just let her be, but allow her liberty, latitude, and safety, and she will find her way on her own for all of us to take forward. Thank you.
Absolutely. That's so true. That is so very true. Mr. Malhotra, close the show for us with your concluding remarks.
Yeah, the system and the protocols which we are following, or the standard operating procedures, or the memorandum of procedure, so-called memorandum procedure, which the government is following now in making appointments. Okay, of course, in the immediate near future, we may not see women Chief Justice of India, but I think the time is not far off when we will see it. But from my point of view, I think that's not only important that you must have a women Chief Justice of India. If you can have enough representation in the judiciary at the High Court level as Chief Justices of the High Courts, and number of women judges in the Supreme Court itself, that itself will serve the purpose for the time being. Because if you are talking for a representation to be given to the women and the judiciary, I think now we have enough talent available with us in the legal profession itself to give a representation to the women advocates in the lower judiciary, in the high courts, as Chief Justices of the High Courts, as well as judges in the Supreme Court. And I think if that takes place immediately, maybe in another, say, 5 years or 7 years' time, very soon you will see the Chief Justice of India also, a women Chief Justice of India also, as you have seen in other sectors.
All right, we'll have to leave it at that. Yes, please.
I'm into that. That's all.
Okay, we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you so much to both my guests for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. What's coming out of this discussion is that there is no doubt that there is a massive underrepresentation of women in the judiciary, but it is not just limited to the judiciary. It's the case with society at large. However, things are changing for the better, and we are seeing more women representation in the judiciary and in other fields as well. That said, there shouldn't be any ease criteria for women to get to the higher judiciary, but it has to be done on merit or meritoriously. Hopefully, we will see a woman CJI soon. Once again, thank you for your continued support, and for those of you who haven't already subscribed, please subscribe, hit the bell icon and then all notifications. Do follow our social media handles for all the latest updates, and you can also subscribe to our newsletter to get some incisive content. The Bharata First team is running a daily quiz. The winner will get to interview me in a program called Hot Seat, which airs on 6 p.m. on Saturdays. The details are in the description of this link or this video, so please go through. There is also a contribution link for those who would like to come forward and contribute and keep this content alive. Remember, one small step that you take is a giant leap for us here at Bharata First. Thank you for your continued support. See you again next time.